I got hurt on the job, and I blew through all my savings. And by the time I was back on my feet again, I was broke, behind on the mortgage. And eventually I lost my house, my family.
Then where did you live?
For a little while, in my car. But then I sold it to eat. Then I started living in doorways. ATM vestibules were the best. And then the mayor started cracking down.
So where did you go?
For a few months, I lived in this empty subway tunnel. There were a lot of other homeless there, and rats. If you didn't wear gloves, they would nibble on your fingers while you slept.
Sounds awful.
You got all these people living in their own filth. You go in there, the stench would knock you back like 3 feet.
And you couldn't go to a shelter?
They're not safe. A lot of people, crazies and junkies looking to steal your stuff or do worse.
Did that happen to you? People steal your things?
Yeah, I've been mugged. I lost count how many times. One time these two guys rolled me from my shoes and gave me smileys all over my body. That's when they hit you with a chain and a padlock, and the lock leaves a bruise like a smiley face.
I want to turn your attention to the night of your altercation with Mr. Fisher.
He was crazy. I just asked for a piece of his orange, and he just started screaming at me. And I told him to back off, and he pushed me, and he kept putting his hands on me. He was a lunatic.
So why didn't you just walk away?
I couldn't. Word got out that I'd backed off. I would be fair game.
Fair game for who?
Anybody. That's how it works. If you're vulnerable, if you're weak, you're a target. And I wasn't going to be a target ever again.
So, you admit assaulting another man because he refused to share his orange?
It's not that simple.
The law of the jungle.
That's right.
And your lawyer suggested that you live like an animal in that jungle.
Yeah, well, maybe she's right.
And what are we doing here? We don't put animals on trial, Mr. Edgars. We put them down.
Fine. Put me down. You'll be doing me a favor.
Tired of living in the street, are you?
You think I chose this for my life?
I think you have more choices than Alan Fisher did, don't you? He was held hostage to his own delusions, but you could control yourself. You could have looked for a job.
I had a job, I told you.
And a house.
Yeah.
And a car.
That's right.
Friends, family, possessions.
And I lost them! I lost it all! You don't know what that feels like, to be a failure. To go to bed on a piece of wet cardboard every friggin' night wondering, how did this happen to me? I didn't want this. I didn't choose this life. This is something that happened to me, and it's like this thing in my chest that's killing me. It gets me right here.
Sounds human to me, Mr. Edgars.
Most of us woke up this morning, punched the snooze button of our clock radios, before eventually willing ourselves out of our nice warm beds and stumbling into the kitchen for an English muffin and a hot cup of coffee. But others, people who most of us will never know, Woke up in a subway tunnel, surrounded by rats and human excrement. We all pay lip service. We all say the right things about the homeless, as long as we don't have to get too close to them. We blame them for their own misfortune and say we cannot understand why they live the way they do. We can't comprehend their existence. We can't possibly ever know the fear and desperation that drove Max Edgars to kill Alan Fisher that night. We can't. So we should all go home tonight. Crawl back into our nice warm beds. And thank our lucky stars. We don't have to.
The law exists to protect as well as to punish. So, if you say that society's laws don't apply to defendants like Max Edgars, you're also saying that society's justice doesn't apply to victims like Alan Fisher. If that's your verdict, then society truly has turned its back on these people. They have no food, no shelter, no money. Don't deny them justice as well.
Jury foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. On the sole count of the indictment, manslaughter in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty.
Years in Ossining.
At least they'll have plenty of food and shelter.
Careful, Jack. That almost sounded like sympathy.
Don't get me wrong, he killed a man for an orange. He deserves to be in prison.
But
We just moved him from one jungle to another.